So I'm going to a convention this weekend for the 40th anniversary of Phantasm. Finally, the actors in my favorite horror movie ever, minus Angus Scrimm, are going to be in Massachusetts. They're going to be actually on my, half of the country. I'm so stoked. I have been waiting to meet these people since high school. I could not be more excited. And before I go, I want to do a little video on something. I had referenced in an earlier video that on the Phantasm IV Oblivion Blu-ray, there's a documentary, essentially a never-before-seen documentary on how the film was made, which I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I can't wait to watch it because that was my favorite of all the sequels. Like, for example, A. Michael Baldwin actually acknowledges that his character in Phantasm III was kind of a damsel in distress. And he said, like, okay, now it's time for Mike to kind of come out and do something. And I was like, oh wow, I'm really happy to hear that he felt the same way about Phantasm 3. Because again, like, that was really my only beef with the movie, was the fact that Mike didn't really have much to do at all except get rescued all the time. But it's like the way they left off, it's like, all right, we need to finish it off kind of epic. I've covered all this in my video Phantasm IV, but A. Michael Baldwin was on as a producer. I didn't actually know that in this movie. Bob Ivy, the guy who plays Bubba Hotep, and he also plays the Demon Trooper from Phantasm IV Oblivion, that guy is a maniac. He is like the most like deadpan, and he's talking about doing these ridiculous stunts too, in which he is literally in an explosion. I didn't notice in the movie, but in the behind the scenes footage, you can actually tell that Bob Ivy is in the car. He's literally in an exploding car. And when he goes to walk out, he opens the door and he walks out, he's in flames, and then he just sort of falls to his knees and falls flat on the ground. Well, I saw the unedited scene where before Don Coscarelli yelled cut, I don't even know if Don Coscarelli did yell cut. I don't think he did, because Bob Ivy actually did get burned on his feet, but he starts like flapping his arms like this, like, put me out, put me out. And then, you know, you'd think he learned his lesson or something like that. No. He's like, again, at the end when the tall man gets blown up in the hearse, it's Bob Ivy again, and he's like, yeah, I'll just stand next to the explosion, and it'll be fine. And people are like, are you sure? Even like some of the stunt coordinators, well, I don't know about this. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But it's like, this guy is a maniac. They were really, really, really on a tight budget. And it's funny because it was almost an entirely different movie. Back in high school, I was waiting for a Phantasm V. Lo and behold, I wouldn't get one until 18 years later. But, you know, circa 2003, 2004, I was sort of like, dude, any year now, they've got to come out with a fifth Phantasm movie. And I followed this website. It was called Phantasm's End. And there was a concept that they had. It was a bigger budget concept. And there was this guy, Roger Avery, who had actually co-written Pulp Fiction with Quentin Tarantino, or at least he like helped Quentin Tarantino create all the stories for that movie. And like right after winning the Academy Award, he was like, I want to do a big budget sequel to Phantasm. I didn't know that it was right after he got the Academy Award. In high school, I was thinking, this is the plan for the fifth Phantasm movie. And that was the buzz that was going around. First, it was called like Phantasm 1999, then it was called Phantasm's End, and it was like this whole thing where this epidemic had taken over the country. The West Coast was here and the East Coast was here, and like everything in the center was the tall man. Like the tall man had taken over the entire like center of the country, the heartland of America. And there's like this whole thing where Reggie goes in there to look for Mike. There was all this stuff about like you have to relinquish your citizenship if you go in there. I didn't know about any of that, but Reggie goes in there after Mike, and they had all these new like types of beasts and stuff. The first concept for the huge sphere, they actually used a lot of the concepts for it that Roger Avery had come up with for Phantasm Ravager, although Phantasm Ravager was very low budget. Basically, Reggie was supposed to have like a Reese's monkey or a capuchin or something like that accompanied him, and the Battle Cuda, another theme that they actually wound up doing in Phantasm Ravager. I'm happy to see like that they took some of the things over this evolution. Well, this was actually initially supposed to be Phantasm IV, this entire concept for Phantasm's End. It was supposed to be Phantasm IV, but they didn't have the money for it. Honestly, I'm kind of happy that they never went with it. Allegedly, there's a script out there. I'd like to read it one day, but it was written by Roger Avery, and I'm not sure how phantasm-y it is. There was also a rumor that Bruce Campbell was supposed to be in it. He was supposed to play Colonel Heckelman, who was, I guess, like the leader of the Suicide Squad. But he was just supposed to be like a side character that was sent into this tall man-infested area as like this mercenary team that, I don't know, it's just badass. And I remember reading that conceptually, again, thinking that it was supposed to be Phantasm V, and I thought it was awesome. I'm like, oh, dude, you know, Reg and Bruce Campbell in a movie again, you know, after Bubba Hotep, that would be amazing. They're both so awesome. In retrospect, I'm kind of happy they didn't do that, because Bruce Campbell and like the Evil Dead movies, and not even the Evil Dead movies, but Bubba Hotep and everything, Bruce Campbell is his own entity. He's his own leading man. It's like he and Reg might like steal the show from one another, because it's like, you know, the Phantasm movies, that's really like Reg with the 4-barreled shotgun and all that awesomeness. It still would have been interesting. It would have been cool if they had like filmed maybe a little bit of it and they'd released like some of the stock footage. It's sort of a curiosity, you know, like the original Marty McFly or something like that. I know that it's probably not as good, but I'd be interested to see it. At any rate, I had no idea that this movie was planned well before Phantasm IV had even come out. I'm kind of happy that things went the way that they did. I'm happy that it stayed at a lower budget, because it kind of almost forced Don Coscarelli to kind of keep it simple and kind of go back to the beginning. Bottom line, there was almost a big budget release of the fourth Phantasm movie that would have probably been just batshit insane, possibly topped the epic factor of Phantasm II. Who's to say? But the fact that they reference it in this documentary and they show a lot of the concept art, I found like super cool. I was like, wow, it's really cool to get the inside scoop on this from the actors. You know, I remember back in the day, I even emailed Reggie Bannister, and I was like, hey, Reg, what are the odds that we're going to get a Phantasm V? And he said, hey, we have a script, man. Like, it's up to them whether or not that we have the budget, and then they give us the green light, and then I'm in, you know? And even he says in the documentary, he's like, I'll probably be playing this character until I croak. So, but tomorrow I'm going to Massachusetts, and the day after tomorrow, Sunday the 9th, I'm going to meet the Phantasm cast. That's going to be Bill Thornberry, Kathy Lester, A. Michael Baldwin, Reggie Bannister, and his wife Gigi Bannister is going to be there, which is pretty tight. Not gonna lie, I really couldn't be any more stoked. But I thought it would be nice to do this little video just about this documentary. If you guys are fans of the series, you should probably pick up the new Blu-ray edition, because it is pretty cool. It does have a lot of previously unseen bonus features. So yeah, give it a shot. All right, guys, that's all she wrote.